Hey there, how's it going everybody? So today what I'm going to be doing is filling up these concrete raised beds in a Hugelkultur style, and I'm going to allow these beds to overwinter and break down. That way come spring next year when I plant it out, should be pretty much ready to go. Now I'm going to be employing a technique here that I'm going to call hidden Hugelkultur. So what do I mean by that? Well, Hugelkultur is a German concept word meaning hill culture, and that's where you bury wood, sticks, leaves, all sorts of things, and you pile it up, you mound it up. And then over time, as all of those materials start to break down, what ends up happening is the beds become more sponge-like, absorbing moisture throughout the winter, and then dispersing that through the drier months. Now, if you've been following along, then you're familiar with my traditional Hugelkultur mounds here. These have been performing very well. And we are here in winter, so many of the things have now died back, or I've chopped and dropped them. But we're still getting an abundance of growth happening here. Now, as you can see, there's still plenty of space that needs to be filled in these raised beds. And what I've been doing is collecting all the fallen leaves throughout the yard, throwing that in here. I'm also going to be chopping and dropping some of the summer crops like this eggplant that's now died back after the hard freezes we've had. And I'm also going to be using some of the tree trimmings, all these branches and sticks here, to continue to fill this space. And once everything is about level, I'm going to go ahead and put about a half a foot or so of wood chips that I've had piled back here for some time. This is a whole lot easier than busting out that wood chipper, let me tell you. Well, I want to add some different plant materials here, so I'm just going to go through the garden and do a little chop and drop, but I'm going to bring it over here to these hidden Hugelkultur beds. So here's a cone patch that has now died back since we've gotten down to freezing temperatures. Just going to leave the tubers in the ground, but I'm going to take all this dead material above ground and throw this in the Hugelkultur. Now anytime I want to harvest these Yukon, I can come out here, and everywhere you see there's a stump, there's food growing under the ground there. At this point, if I had a bunch of compost or soil lying around, I'd go ahead and fill in all the gaps with that and then put a layer of wood chips, but I don't have that luxury, so I'm just going to go ahead and take these wood chips that have been composting here for a couple months and fill in all the gaps. See, there's pine needles and leaves, wood chips, all mixed together in this batch. Now I'm going to continue to rake up leaves and such and add them to the top of those beds. Now what's going to happen, just like with a compost pile, is over the next few months throughout the winter, this is going to continually break down, and it should go down about 6 to 8 inches or so, at which point I'll then just have a small layer of compost and soil to put on top and plant right in there. And if it's a more deeper rooted plant that I'm going to put in here, I'll simply pull back about a foot of this and fill this with a potting mix or compost or native soil and plant right in there. So really with this, I'm employing the same exact technique I did with my Hugelkultur beds. This is just more aesthetically pleasing for most people. So you could actually do one of these type of systems right in your front yard and Nobody would even know that it was a hugelkultur unless you told them. Also, I want to mention the materials that I used are things that are locally resourced and that I gathered right here on site. But you could accomplish the same thing using whatever you have on hand. So if it's branches and straw, there you go. Well, I hope you found this video helpful or entertaining in some way. And with that, I hope this video finds you and finds you well. Take care, everybody. I'll be talking to you again soon.